I will give this my all, and I ask you all to pull with me. Let's build a new national sense of unity, of common purpose and positivity. Let us make this the moment when Britain starts to believe again.
Is the new man on the job now, the United Kingdom facing another new beginning. Andy Burnham becoming the country's 7th prime minister in about 10 years' time. His signal earlier today, a leftward shift for the UK, promising to be a, quote, circuit breaker for major change. That was his opening speech. Says he's going to have more policies to unveil tomorrow. Jeff Paul reports outside of 10 Downing Street, where you saw a bit of history today and what comes next. Jeff, hello.
Hey, Bill. Yeah, Andy Burnham arriving here outside of 10 Downing Street a short time ago, ushering in a new era in British politics. He spoke to the crowd for the first time officially as Prime Minister, promising both hope and change to everyday people. Now, when he arrived here to 10 Downing Street, joined by his wife, he was greeted by a round of applause from both supporters and friends. He announced his first instruction, which will be to end homelessness in the UK. Burnham says he wants to make life easier for Brits, saying living in the UK needs to be more affordable. Now, as to how he will pull that off, well, the former Manchester mayor signaling a farther push to the left. He is suggesting greater state ownership of public utilities, expanded social housing, and more government involvement in essential services. Burnham also continues to take shots at 1980s Britain. At the time, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher pushed free markets and deregulation, which Burnham says was a disaster.
We will make this moment a circuit breaker for Britain, bringing forward the biggest changes in the last 40 years. A new political model and a new economic model.
Now, as we wait to see how relations between Burnham and the Trump administration evolve, Burnham is getting a bit of praise from President Trump on social media. President Trump saying, in part, the people of Aberdeen in Scotland are dancing in the streets because the new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has stated that he will be opening up all the way the invaluable North Sea oil. It is one of the greatest sources of quality oil on Earth, has hundreds of years of capacity left, with much not even found yet. Now, after Keir Starmer's exit today, Andy Burnham becomes the 7th Prime Minister in just 10 years. Bill?
Okay, new era begins now. Jeff, thanks. Nice to see you. 10 Downing Street there in central London. Dana.
Well, let's bring in former Margaret Thatcher advisor and director at the Heritage Foundation, Nile Gardiner. Great to have you. And this is also what Burnham said. He goes all the way to the Wayback Machine and tries to say that things went wrong in the 1980s under Thatcher. Watch.
In the 1980s, Britain took some wrong turns. Political power was centralised, economic power privatised, large parts of the country deindustrialised, and they still haven't recovered. We will take power out of here and carry it into every postcode in the land so that they can do more.
I know that we don't have time to revisit everything that was happening in the lead up to the 1980s in Britain, but where do you think he's wrong there?
Dana, great to see you. Greetings from London. And I have to say that, Andy Burnham's attacks on Margaret Thatcher are absolutely horrible. They're nasty. This is the new start for the new British Prime Minister, who hasn't been elected, I might add, actually. He's simply replacing Keir Starmer, of course, who was an absolute disaster. But Andy Burnham, I think, will be even worse, actually, than Keir Starmer. He's more left-wing. He has already launched a series of attacks on my former boss, Margaret Thatcher, condemning her record in the 1980s. And Margaret Thatcher, of course, literally saved Britain from socialist decline, destruction, and despair. And you have the new Labour Prime Minister in Britain, who's already attacking Margaret Thatcher's legacy, talking about renationalising British industries, taking Britain back to the dark days of the 1970s, of course, when the socialists literally took Britain to its knees, to the verge of bankruptcy in the 1970s. And so we have a new hard left Prime Minister. I think the outlook is extremely grim, actually, for the United Kingdom. We need to see a general election here in Britain for the British people to have an actual say in who leads the country. And Burnham is not elected. He's been appointed by the Labour Soviet-style Politburo without any democratic mandate at all.
And here's what Nigel Farage said about that when you mentioned governing from the far left. Watch here.
The only certainty with Burnham is we're going to get more of the same. But they'll go further to the left than they already are. He says he wants to have the biggest change of direction in politics in 40 years. Outside of 25,000 voters in Makerfield, he has literally no mandate for this at all.
And so, I mean, he's got a lot of problems, most of them economic. Do you think there's anything he will do that will help improve the situation?
No, I think the outlook for Britain is very grim. And socialists destroy everything in their path, frankly. And I fear for the future of Britain with Andy Burnham as Prime Minister. Nigel Farage is absolutely right. We do need a general election. You know, we have a form of socialist tyranny, frankly, in the UK. And also, you know, a big government, high tax, high spending agenda, which is completely against the free market, completely against the entrepreneurial spirit of the British people. So I really do fear for the future of Britain under this socialist regime. And we do need a general election, and we need to have the British people having a say over their own future and an opportunity to throw the socialists out of office.
So forecast dark and stormy, I think, a little bit there in the UK. Let's hope for better skies ahead for them. But we take your warning seriously. Thank you, and have a safe trip back to D.C.
Many thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
So now
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.